the idea. Yeah, doing a hive exile. Yeah, I think a soldier, that just sounds most interesting. Oh, I like that. He looks so ready to go. Maybe that could be it. Maybe he was kicked out because he was just too small. I think that's just, yeah. He was fully ready to be just another soldier drone. But he was born too small. Didn't fit the queen. So they kicked him out. Now he's forced to handle everything on his own. What should his name be? Shoot, yeah, we'll just call him X. He's not used to having a name. So for those who aren't familiar with Kenshi, I want to try to summarize it for you briefly. Well, X here runs around for a few minutes in denial about his current exile. Kenshi is, well, as I said, in short, an open world sandbox RPG squad-based city building game. You can be whatever you want, do a whole lot, and you don't matter. You start out as a nobody, like X here, with no combat skills, no equipment, not even food. You are not the chosen one. You are not special. And if all of your party dies, and even your last character dies, and the game continues on like you're any other NPC, you have to quit the game. There is no game over screen. So, pretty harsh game, but also very fun because you can do whatever you want. No main quest, no main objectives. You choose what you want to do. In this case, X here is very troubled by this. He is used to having been part of a hive mind like the other hivers in this village he was just part of. Never had to make up his mind or make decisions. He was always told what to do. And he's looking around now, watching as everyone completely ignores him. He is now a nobody. But also, for the first time, he is a somebody. This is troubling for him. He doesn't know what to do with it. And for those who are familiar with Kenshi, you will notice that this is not vanilla. I am using the Genesis Overhaul mod, along with several other additional mods that I'll hopefully have in a collection for link down below for you to view. But also I am using a reshade as well to kind of pump up the lights and the graphics and make it look a little bit more fancy along with some UI stuff. But with how extensive Genesis already is, I didn't want to go too heavy. Now after accepting his fate, X decides to head vaguely towards the Sten Desert because it is not in the direction of the Holy Nation, and one of the few things he knows about the world is Holy Nation doesn't like people that aren't them. So thinking this is at least a decent direction to go, he begins running. Another thing he knows about the world is as a hiver, he can very likely outrun most of his problems because he certainly can't outfight them, considering that he has absolutely no combat experience simply because he was born too short. And now with that said, let's enjoy a very quick traveling montage as X wanders. Fortunately for our fresh little exile, it does not take him too long to find another major settlement, nor does he experience any difficulty. Once again, much thanks to his speedy hiver legs. He ends up finding himself in Admag, capital of the Shek Kingdom, which, ironic for him, is a kingdom full of warriors, something that his birth did not allow him to be. Anyway, whatever. Another thing X quickly realized is that he would need food. Despite being a hiver and not having as fast as a metabolism as other races, he would need it. However, he didn't have money. So, in what he considered a stroke of brilliance, this being one of the first times he's had to think for himself, he decided to go outside of town and do what he knows best: mindlessly work. So he found a copper vein and got to it. Having knowledge from hearing the High Princess talk about being merchants, that people are willing to give you money for that. Also, in some of his spare time, remembering hearing that you can be sneaky and thievy and steal stuff from people for money, he also decided to practice being sneaky at night. And finally, after selling some copper, he was able to sit down to a good meal, which honestly it looks like he is quite enjoying. Good for him. His first free meal. With some of his newfound cats, the currency of Kenshi as they are called, he decided to go see if he could get some armor or weapons. But as he ran to the shops and began to take a peek at what they had available, he realized that he doesn't quite have enough, it would seem. So after glancing around a little bit, he decided to go back out and explore. Being unaccustomed to the burden of having to make his own decisions, he wanted to distract himself either with being on the move or working. In the last couple of days, he had just worked, so for now, it was a case of running and exploring. What general direction does he really want to go? Where would he potentially heard is a good area to go? But this once again had him realize the issue of he had to choose where to run, which choosing, not what he's used to doing, but run he did, and eventually stumbled across a small little outpost of the shack. But I don't even have a bar? What's going on? Alright, this is apparently a bad choice. Realizing there were no amenities for commoners like him, he decided to push forward, or outwards, or whatever you want to call it. He went back out to the desert and began to wander again. And in his wanderings, he actually ended up at a city that should be very familiar to all Kenshi players: Squin. Well, other than adding the rocks over top, it doesn't look dramatically different. Whoa, what is that? What? I take it back. Myself being surprised by the changes brought about by the Genesis mod project aside, X was also rather surprised to find such a racist robot upon entering town. Afterwards, he began going to the various merchants to see if he could find some additional food, goods, or other equipment that could be useful for a journey or an adventure. A journey or an adventure of which he would also be the one in charge of, as in having to make the decisions and think for himself in deciding what to do, which, as we've established, not something he's very accustomed to. During this process, he gets the idea of trying to put a little bit of his sneaky skills to the test and goes to the local bar upstairs and begins seeing if maybe he could steal some goods for some easy hats, as a much easier alternative to mining copper outside of town, as he did in AdMag. During this, he had the fright of thinking that he was caught. However, after getting up and resuming his business, no one came to throw him in jail. So as far as X thought, he was in the clear. So obviously, thinking that he got off easy, he continued doing his dirty work and trying to get some more easy goods in order to assist him with his journey. Still having no idea whatsoever what his journey might be, figured these are some suckers. Let's see if we can get some good stuff from them. Possibly might have to take this all to a new town. After getting his dastardly goods, this is when X thought he'd be able to get some easy cats to buy a backpack in order to carry yet even more goods. However, he quickly realized because he's in the same town that he stole from, he probably wouldn't be able to actually get money from it all. So he decided to once again set out and see where he would be able to pawn off his ill-gotten gains. For his wanderings, X decided to continue heading vaguely southeast because up to this point, that had worked out fairly well for him so far. Along the way, he ended up finding a rather well-sized caravan selling some goods, which after taking a little peek, he realized was drugs. So, having heard things from the Hive Princes used as merchants, he decided to pick up a few, along with using it as an opportunity to get rid of his stolen goods from people who wouldn't report him to the law. Shortly after entering the swamp, X encounters some form of small village and decides to take a peek inside and see what he's able to find. In his excitement, he decides to use this opportunity to get rid of some of his goods, including the drugs, hearing that they can make good money. I should have waited. Okay, whatever. Needed to go somewhere else. After making a novice blunder of selling your goods for the same price you bought them for, X checked out a couple more vendors in town and decided he had enough of trying to make decisions and exploring. He wanted to just go back to Squin and do some basic labor again. Shortly upon leaving the swamp, X caught the attention of some more bandits, but being a fast little hiver, not much of a problem. So he led them on a merry chase across the countryside until, that is, he ended up finding another merchant caravan, which volunteered their efforts in assisting him. He used that as an opportunity for fight training, and for his first time so far, been able to get some notable weapons and equipment. Finally looks like a proper adventurer slash free hiver, and has some drip. So now he looks the part, but still doesn't know what to do as the part. So heading back into town towards Squin, he decides to get back to mining as he decides what's to do. Waiting for some opportunity, for something to shake things up. Find out what his tomorrow's going to look like. Oh no. And it looks like he might not have to choose. Kenshi happens. Thank you for watching.